And our story is kind of similar to Chip's in the sense that we both started the company in business school. And he was saying that, they were going through all these different classes and programs on campus, and they were kind of serious about the idea. They wanted to just basically do one production run and then go work in consulting. But then it just kind of took off, and they realized, maybe we can do this thing full time. So I get a lot of questions from people like, how'd you guys come up with this idea? When did you decide to basically pursue it seriously? So in your mind, like, what was kind of that moment where this went from something that we were just doing as part of a business school class or program to something that you wanted to do, full time, or basically, seriously, and then potentially do full time in the future?
I know when you originally presented the idea, and it was on the at an intramural football practice. I think we were you you said that okay, this would be something that you would definitely want to pursue. This is something that you kind of want to pursue outside of the classroom. But as far as validating the idea, this like program, this class, and this program at Booth would be perfect to kind of talk to consumers, get like some feedback on the idea and really refine it so that we can kind of pursue it in earnest. I, you know, I kind of like believed at the beginning, like, as much as like I guess any individual who's just presented with an idea can believe in it being something more than what it is at the time. But I think during the course of the class, building the new venture, I think it started to solidify a bit more. Um, and especially during that Polsky program, uh, which was like based upon like talking to consumers, when we started to hear other groups talk about, maybe the value proposition that their particular venture was offering, or how their business was structured, and realizing that their their business was uniquely different than ours, in that it was hard to get an idea of like several value props, but like our value props were pretty clear. I'm like, wow, this is easy to understand, very translatable. And I don't know, it seemed a bit more attainable than what they were talking about. And I was like, okay, this thing actually does have legs, because it's not going to be hard for our consumer to get it. Whereas they're, and this is, maybe they can clear up their message a bit more and make it a bit more concise and clear. But I feel like they had a huge hurdle to overcome in terms of like educating their consumer just on the value prop alone. Whereas our value prop was pretty easy to get. And so we could really just start, refining the business in other ways. So it was probably somewhere in the midst of that particular class and that particular program that I really thought like, okay, this venture can go far.
Yeah, that makes sense. And for me, I think being in business school, and Chip talked about this a little bit in terms of at a lot of business schools, there's a bias against basically like consumer products or products that are not these new technologies. So something like clothing, food and beverage, shoes, things like that. They're already to an extent out there. Like most things are already out there. So if you're trying to make a new company, it's doing a new twist on something that already exists. And I think in that business school environment, there's just like a huge bias against that. So for me, actually, like getting outside of that business school community is actually when I started to realize, hey, maybe this thing has some legs to it, because we would talk to, potential parents in our target segment, and the idea would really resonate with them. We talked to former competitive athletes. The idea would really resonate with them. And then for me, once we started talking to people in the footwear industry with like 20, 25 years of experience, and they really got what we were saying and said, hey, this needs this is something that the footwear industry needs, that's when it really dawned on me that like, hey, this actually is something it's not just a good idea, it's actually something that could be a viable business. So I think going through the business school programs definitely helped for me, like, refine the business plan and things like that. But it actually like took away some of my confidence in the viability of the business. Whereas interacting with some of those people outside of the business school community, especially in the footwear industry, added a lot of confidence.
Yeah, no, for sure.